28 years of marriage, 3 years of a secret life, and a $250,000 betrayal. I thought my wife was working late until I found the key to an apartment I didn't know existed. Inside, I found her other life, and the documents proving she was planning to replace me. They say you should never meet your heroes. But I discovered it's far more devastating to meet your wife's secret life. I walked into the lobby of Meridian Technologies, my wife Lauren's empire, holding a bag of takeout, only to have the security guard look at me with genuine pity. He chuckled when I mentioned I was the CEO's husband. "Sir, I see the CEO's husband every single day," he said, shaking his head. "In fact, he's walking through the glass doors right now." I froze. He gestured toward the lobby. A man in a sharp, charcoal Tom Ford suit was striding toward the elevators. He was in his early 40s, radiated confidence, and wore a timepiece that likely cost more than my first car. He looked like the definition of corporate success. "Mr. Sterling," the guard called out casually, "your wife is still tied up in her 300 meeting. She'll be out in 20. The man, Frank Sterling, according to his ID badge, gave a quick nod and headed for the elevator. He hadn't noticed me yet. I stood there, clutching my bag of pasta from Osteria, my heart rhythm suddenly skipping beats, like an engine struggling to turn over. I had been married to Lauren for 28 years. Yet here was another man, casually claiming my life, my marriage, my wife. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to cause a scene, to tackle him, to demand to know how he dared take my place. But the guard's tone, so indifferent, so practiced, silenced me. This wasn't a secret, it was common knowledge, everyone knew except for me. "You know what?" I said to the guard, my voice surprisingly steady. "I think I'm in the wrong building. I'm meant to be at Gerald Pharmaceuticals, not Meridian." The guard looked confused. "But you said you were Mrs. Sterling's husband." I forced a smile. "Just a family friend, I'm Gerald. I must be losing my mind, long day." I set the takeout on his desk. "Could you ensure Lauren gets this? Just tell her Gerald dropped it off." The guard shrugged. "Sure thing." I walked out before my legs betrayed me. I had been with Lauren since 1996. We were both 23. I was a fresh accounting grad. She was finishing her MBA at Northwestern. She was brilliant, a woman who lived life by 5-year plans. I was the rock, the practical one who balanced the checkbooks and kept the home fires burning so she could chase her dreams. She climbed the ladder quickly. Director by 30, VP by 35, and CEO of Meridian Technologies, a massive AI logistics firm, by 43. I was incredibly proud. I'd weather the late nights, the business trips, the missed dinners. We didn't have kids. She claimed they'd ruin her trajectory. I'd accepted it because I loved her, or so I thought. Now I was sitting in my car in the parking lot, gripping the wheel until my knuckles turned white. Frank Sterling, her VP of operations. I'd met him once at a company gala 2 years ago. I'd thought nothing of it, I trusted her. But the guard had said he sees her husband every day, not a lover, not a partner, husband. I couldn't go back to the home I'd spent all day cleaning, or to the lasagna I'd prepared for our anniversary. Instead, I sat in a coffee shop nearby, staring at an untouched black coffee. At 6:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Lauren, working late, don't wait up, love you." I stared at that message for an eternity. Love you, did she? Or was I just the safety net? The guy who paid the bills while she led a double life? I typed out several replies before settling on, "Okay, there's lasagna in the fridge." She replied with, "You're the best. See you late." Lauren walked in at 11:23 p.m. looking exhausted. "Hey," she said, tossing her bag down. "How was your day?" My voice didn't waver. "Exhausting." Meetings, then Frank and I reviewed the Q3 projections. She headed for the kitchen, the familiar sounds of her existence filling the house. Our house. Was it even ours? She returned with her plate and sat across from me. "This is perfect, I'm starving." "I stopped by your office today," I said, keeping it light. "Brought lunch from Osteria." She paused, a micro-hesitation. "You did? I didn't see anything." "I left it with Frank Sterling, figured he'd get it to you." "Oh," she said, chewing slowly. "He didn't mention it. Busy day, you know." She was a master liar. "How is Frank?" I asked. "Good guy. He's the best. Really gets the vision. We're in sync on everything." "In sync. That's good." "Important to have a strong working relationship." "Absolutely," she said, offering me that same smile I'd fallen for nearly 3 decades ago. Thanks for the food, though. Sweet, we sat in silence. A normal Tuesday night, except everything was poisoned. Once she fell into her deep sleep, the result of years of professional adrenaline, I went to her study. The door was unlocked. It was always unlocked. I knew her password, our wedding date, 61,596. I opened her laptop, feeling like a thief in my own life. I checked her calendar. At first, it looked like standard corporate jargon. Then the patterns emerged. Dinner with F7H00 p.m. at Il Posto. Il Posto was a romantic, candlelit spot, not a place for a business debrief. Weekend retreat. Grand Geneva Resort. She told me it was a leadership conference. I checked the credit card, 2 rooms. No, 1 room, the other canceled. I kept digging. I found years of business trips that were actually vacations with Frank. I closed the laptop and stood in the bedroom doorway watching her sleep. She looked so innocent. I'd trusted her completely. And she'd been building this web for 3 years. The next day, I called in sick, a rarity for me. While she was gone, I tore the study apart. In the back of her jewelry drawer, tucked beneath old necklaces, I found a key. A simple silver key with a tag, Harborview Apartments, Unit 214, a luxury complex in River North. I drove there, my hands shaking. A black Mercedes GLE, Frank's car, sat in the spot marked 214. The key worked. Inside, the apartment smelled exactly like her, Chanel No. 5. It was a home. 2 coffee mugs, photos of them on the beach with Lauren conspicuously ringless. The bedroom was the breaking point, king-size bed, her clothes mixed with his. On the dresser, a folder, future plans. I opened it, real estate listings for houses in affluent suburbs, schools, travel brochures for honeymoons, and underneath the Dagger, divorce consultation notes, dated 18 months ago. She was building a case against me, frame as irreconcilable differences. Cite Gerald's lack of ambition and emotional distance. She had cataloged every minor argument as evidence of my inadequacy. She was going to file for divorce by January 2025, marry Frank by Christmas. I was just an obstacle to be discarded. I photographed every document, every page. Then I sat on their couch, their life, and finally understood the depth of the betrayal. I drove until I reached a parking lot, letting her missed calls pile up. Finally, I answered. "Where are you?" she asked, her concern sounding so genuine it made me sick. "Just driving, needed to clear my head." "Come home," she pleaded. "I'll pick up Thai food." That night, we ate dinner like nothing had happened. She talked about her work drama. I played the part of the supportive husband. I waited until she was asleep, then I went back to the financial records. I'd been an accountant for 22 years. I knew where to look. We should have had $300,000 in savings. We had $47,000. She defunneled over $250,000 into her secret life. Apartment rent, luxury furniture, vacations, all my money. She hadn't just stolen my trust, she'd stolen my future. I pulled up the corporate records. She had been illegally shifting company assets and resources to groom Frank Sterling for a position that didn't exist, effectively committing corporate fraud. I took everything to Richard Morrison, the chairman of the board. He arrived 2 hours later. I laid it all out. The apartment, the photos, the embezzlement, the corporate misconduct. His face went pale. "She's been redirecting capital budgets," he muttered. "This is a massive conflict of interest." I handed him a USB drive containing everything. "I'm not doing this for revenge," I said, even though part of me knew that was a lie. "I'm doing this because it's the truth." When Lauren came home that night, she was furious. "You called Richard Morrison. You're trying to destroy my career." "I shared information the board needed," I said, stirring the dinner. "This is my reputation," she shrieked. I showed her the photos from the apartment. The future plans folder. She went white. "How?" "I found the key, Lauren. 28 years. I supported you in everything." "And this was your exit strategy?" She cried, but it was too late. I left for a hotel. I filed for divorce on Monday. The fallout was swift. Frank was fired immediately. Lauren was placed on administrative probation, her power stripped while the board conducted a forensic audit. The golden ladder she built for Frank collapsed. She called me that night sobbing. "You destroyed everything. How could you? You spent 3 years replacing me, Lauren. You stole from me. You committed fraud. I just let the truth surface." "We can fix this," she begged. "I'll end it with Frank." "Frank is gone because of you," I replied coldly, And now you want to discard him too. You're consistent at least. I blocked her number. The divorce was brutal, but the evidence made it open and shut. I kept the house, she kept her wreckage. By March 2025, she was forced to resign. No severance, just failure. Frank sued her, then the company, but he lost everything. They broke up months later, blaming each other for their ruined lives. I sold the house. Too many ghosts. I moved into a condo in Lakeview. I started seeing a therapist to process the betrayal. About 8 months later, I saw Lauren at Whole Foods. She looked thin, tired. We locked eyes. I nodded once and kept walking. She didn't say a word. 2 years later, I got a LinkedIn message from Frank, an apology. I knew what we were doing was wrong. You deserved better. I closed it without a reply. Some apologies are just noise. 3 years after the divorce, I'm sitting in my condo on a Saturday morning. My phone buzzes. It's Amy, a woman I met at a bookstore who knows my history and chose to love me anyway. Brunch at 11? I smile and type back, perfect. I look out at Lake Michigan. My life is small, simple, and honest. No secret apartments. No hidden lives, just truth. And for the first time in a long time, that is enough. It's everything.